The San Francisco Giants are the best team in baseball, and they make no sense. Major League Baseball is in a pretty great place right now with all these exciting storylines coexisting all at once. 4 American League East teams fighting for 2 wildcard spots. Shohei Ohtani has become one of the world's most influential people. Some dude named Robbie Ray might win the Cy Young.
For Pete's sake.
So you can understand how some stories this year could get lost in the mix. One of them that I'd like to make sure doesn't is about how the San Francisco Giants are having one of the greatest and most improbable seasons in their 139-year-long franchise history. They've somehow constructed a team no one predicted to have a shot in their division this year, and are arguably better than any of their 3 championship teams from the last decade. The Giants are yet another prime showcase of what makes baseball so unique relative to some of the other sports out there. How many teams like the Giants can you say exist in the NFL? Okay, fine, you got me. The 2021 San Francisco Giants are essentially Major League Baseball's island of misfit toys, where those who've been counted out and glossed over have banded together to become something greater. I don't think a single person predicted the Giants to be as good as they are this year, and it's yet another example of what's pretty much become the overarching theme of my videos this year, that baseball, more than any other sport, allows for the impossible. Alright, confession time. Now this may come as a surprise for most of you, but I haven't really watched much baseball this year. I'm usually only ever watching one team before October starts, but my team's season's kind of been over since the first week of August, so that helped keep me pretty disinterested this year. I've watched one baseball game since like June. My entire exposure to baseball for the majority of this season has literally been the occasional scroll through Twitter. So believe me when I say that finding out that the San Francisco Giants were the best team in the sport on one random summer evening was a real wake-up call that I've missed some shit. I have yet to meet someone who predicted the Giants to finish higher than 3rd in the division this year. Yet here they are at the end of September, the first team to guarantee themselves a playoff spot and the leading team in the race for the division crown against the biggest powerhouse in baseball. This is like a long-running David versus Goliath story where David beats Goliath and then becomes the new Goliath, and then the first Goliath comes back from the dead as David to be the new Goliath. Does that make sense? Seeing how there's a very real chance their magical season could be lost to history in a one-game playoff, I wanted to make this video to serve as a reminder of what this team has accomplished this year. That regardless of how it ends, the journey it took to get as far as they have is just as significant to me as anything that could be yet to come. It's another important lesson in perseverance and overcoming obstacles and expectations, and I believe that's what the 2021 Giants should be remembered for. So let's showcase the squad that's done just that. We start with the heart and soul of Giants baseball for the last decade plus. The only cool Buster in baseball, Buster Posey. Heading into the 2020 season, it looked like Buster Posey's best years were behind him. The Posey family had adopted premature twins at the height of the pandemic last year, as most of you know I'm sure, and believed it was in their best interest for Buster to opt out of the season. 2020 was the first year since he arrived to the major leagues that the Giants were without Buster Posey for the entire season. He was of course an invaluable piece of the 3 World Series championship teams the Giants constructed over a 5-year span in the 2010s, and has been a cornerstone of this franchise ever since, even during his down years. The 2012 MVP winner has come back and completely reignited his career. He's been healthy and through 99 games has put up a 141 OPS plus, has pretty much doubled his walk rate from 2019, and is in the top 6% of baseball in weighted on-base average, the highest it's ever been in his career. That's just a version of on-base percentage that weights different outcomes like singles and triples differently. This year he's nearly accumulated the same amount of F4 in 40 fewer games than he did in 2017. It would seem out of place to have a modern-day Giants team be great without a great Buster Posey too, and his surprising resurgence coinciding with the Giants' surprising resurgence of their own this year is the perfect signal to the rest of the league that Buster and the Giants are back. As a team, the Giants have scored the 2nd most runs in the National League and have the 2nd lowest team ERA in all of baseball. Ironically enough, 2nd in both of those categories to the team that's trying to leapfrog them in the West right now. That 2nd best team ERA is composed of the 3rd best starters ERA in baseball and the lowest bullpen ERA in baseball. And that's where even more of the intrigue lies with this team. Heading into 2021, nobody seemed to bat an eye at the Giants pitching staff. Their staff as it roughly stands today, and I say roughly because 2 of the 5 should be back from the injured list soon, looks like this. Gausman and DeSclafani, 2 of the last names anybody probably expected to be leading one of the best rotations in baseball, have the National League's 5th and 13th lowest ERAs respectively. Gausman's ERA in 2021 is nearly an entire run lower than his previous career low for a single season. Kevin Gausman was once a top prospect in all of baseball, but never really lived up to those sky-high expectations. So what does he do? He goes to the Giants, a team that had pretty much 0 expectations, and becomes the ace of the best team in baseball with a career year. That phrase, career year, is pretty much what describes every major contributor on this 2021 Giants team. It seems like everyone on this team is having a career year all at once, which is something I can't say I remember ever seeing before. And a pretty similar story with Anthony DeSclafani to a lesser extent. Both pitchers glossed over who have come to the Giants and have found a way to thrive unlike many, if any, have predicted they could. And then there's Logan Webb.
Who?
I swear to God, this is the first time I've ever heard of him. Webb is 8-0 with a 1.65 ERA in his last 15 starts and hasn't allowed more than 2 runs in that span. This is the second longest streak of its kind in the last 120 years. Logan Webb spent almost 6 years in San Francisco's minor league system as a former 4th-round draft pick back in 2014. He's gone through a well above average amount of ups and downs in his professional career before getting to where he is now, and like Kevin Gausman, the Giants coaching staff has tweaked his game plan ever so slightly to turn him into the best possible version of himself. Increasing the rate of his sinker and slider usage, doubling the sinker usage, has seemed to do wonders for his game. That sinker has helped put him second on the Major League leaderboard for ground ball rate among pitchers with at least 100 innings pitched. He's even developed some pretty great swing and miss stuff. He's in the top decile in chase rate for this season. Logan Webb came into 2021 with a career ERA of almost 5.5 through his first 94 innings pitched over 2 years, and is now one of the league's best pitchers and a crucial piece of the Giants' endgame this year. Also, tell me this guy isn't related to Todd from Breaking Bad. Evan Longoria.
Now that's a name I've...
How I felt hearing that Evan Longoria was relevant again was kind of like how I felt when I heard that people actually liked The Rise of Skywalker. Immense confusion, many questions. Evan Longoria is 35 years of age, who we thought was well removed from his heyday playing in a Tampa Bay Rays uniform. This season, he has a 145 OPS+. Admittedly, he's only played in just under 70 games this season due to injury, but he's still played enough in my opinion and has been good enough in that time to rightfully garner some serious attention. Because of the nature of his injury, it's not even like it was his own inability to stay healthy. You'd figure the Giants finally putting names on the back of their jerseys would help you identify who's who, but I guess it can't solve all their problems. Offensively, Longo has been barely average for the past few seasons, and now he's producing at a level we haven't seen in at least 5 years since the last time he was getting down-ballot MVP votes. According to StatCast, Evan Longoria is 10th in Major League Baseball in hard hit percentage among players with at least 150 batted balls. That's 1 spot below Giancarlo Stanton and 1 spot above Yordan Alvarez. He's even got Shohei beat there. It would of course been nice to see if he could have kept that up for an entire season, but even in fewer games than he would have liked, his success has been a shocker nonetheless. And a very pleasant shocker if you're a Giants fan. Not if you're a good pal Sportstorm though. Evan Longoria is just another name on the long list of Giants veterans who've suddenly decided to dramatically exceed expectations this year. Joining him and Posey atop that list is longtime Giant Brandon Belt, and to an even crazier degree, shortstop Brandon Crawford. Through almost 90 games this season, Brandon Belt has hit 25 homers and has an OPS plus of 152. Both career highs if you exclude 2020. Belt is 33 years old and is having himself, you guessed it, a career year. But there's one Benjamin Button-esque transformation on this team that reigns supreme, and that would be Brandon Crawford's. Crawford is 34 years old. He's been in this league for 11 seasons, and he's never been known for his offense. Brandon Crawford perfectly encapsulates the 2021 Giants. He's an older player, he's been really freaking good, and nobody expected him to be doing what he's done this year. His career OPS plus heading into 2021 was 95, 5% below league average. He's OPS plussing right now 138. He has never done better than 113 in a full season. Only 215 players in Major League history 34 years or older have had an OPS as high, being as close to Social Security checks as Brandon Crawford is. More than a third of those 215 players are currently in the Hall of Fame. His average is way up, OBP is way up, slugging is way up, homers are way up, WRC plus way up, a nearly career high walk rate, a nearly career low strikeout rate, WOBA way up. Nothing can stop him, his WOBA's way up. And he's done all of this while still maintaining the defensive caliber at short that he's been known for his entire career. So far this year, he's nearly accumulated a career-high F WAR in 33 fewer games than his best season. It really is amazing what he's done this year, and he's been a huge reason the Giants are where they are. There are stories like these up and down the roster. Steven Duggar, Wilmer Flores, Darren Ruff, Lamonte Wade Jr., Harlan Garcia, Tyler Rogers, basically their entire bullpen. The list goes on the offensive side and the pitching side. The Giants are the 3rd oldest team in baseball. Their locker room is basically Shady Shoals from SpongeBob, and it's been the old folk who've really put this team on their brittle backs and carried them as far as they've come this year. In a game that's continuing to get younger, that's a pretty cool thing to see. This is actually one scenario where I actually enjoy being somewhat ignorant. I think this magical story would probably seem less so if I took a deep dive and figured out how exactly the Giants and their players have done this. I don't care how Brandon Crawford started hitting the ball harder. I don't really need to know why Logan Webb is getting more hitters to chase than at any other point in his professional career. For the sake of this video and what it's trying to convey, all I really care about is that these things are happening, and they're happening with so many of the different misfits on this roster that have gotten the Giants to 44 games over 500 and the best record in baseball. The Giants have gone through injuries. At one point, they lost their entire infield to the injured list, but they were built with enough depth to plug the holes and keep the line moving, as championship-winning teams do. ESPN gave the Giants a 1.2% chance of making the playoffs at the start of the season. Maybe that's the same chance you have of getting to go out with your crush. The Giants are going to the playoffs, so maybe you'll be on a date soon. The lesson I want you to take away from this video is that if the losers on the Giants can do what they're doing, there is literally nothing you can't do in life. Wait, that didn't come out right.